It's a first in a lifetime event. It's coming up on the 13th and 14th of February 2024. Mars will segue into the sign of Aquarius, where he meets with Pluto at 0 degrees. By the way, sitting on a very military star named Altair for the Eye of the Eagle. And we're going to see what this bodes for the world and each of us individually over the next 20 years. It will be in 2043 that this last happened. So first and last, here we go. It's not happened in our lifetimes. If you were alive in the late 1700s, yes, you saw this happen in your chart. We saw it happen in the world. There was a French Revolution, by the way, during the last iteration, and also the wobbly baby steps of the nation of the United States getting its act together with its newfound government after the American Revolution. So we can also see the formation of new structures of power. But we're going to dive into how this looks for you individually as well as the world collectively. This event is coming up in what I call a very intense Pluto party. Pluto entered into Aquarius on January 20th. The sun came right in after him. And then, so he greeted the sun. Then Mercury came in on February 5th and he shook hands with Mercury. Then in comes Mars on February 13th. And in comes Venus on the 16th of February with the sun still there until about the 19th. And this is what I'm calling the Pluto party, or a huge lopsided weight in our Aquarian whole Western tropical sky. Holy weighted Aquarius people. All of you fixed signs of Taurus and Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo are really feeling this February as extraordinary and intense and life-changing energies. That energy is so intense because it is our time to experience this Pluto transit, conjunct, opposite, or square, right? Our sun, moon, and rising in Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, or Leo. These are the fixed signs. So let's talk about the sky for the world. But before we begin, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I am Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac whole sign houses, and I love the fixed stars and minor asteroids. I'm helping you time your best life using astrology as a navigational tool. It navigates space and time. And so I'm helping you see the lay of the land so you can make decisions that are in harmony with the flow of what is happening. So let me start off by saying, let me get a little more light in here. First of all, I'm having what I would call a dark day. It's not really, I just can't get the lighting in this office either to be sun glaring on me or something else, you know? So we're going to start by talking about what this guy's doing in terms of the archetypes of Pluto and Mars, right? Now, everyone seems to know what Mars is about. As a general theme, he's about war, conflict, aggression. He's about what we need to cut, end, and sever. He rules scalpels and surgeons and athletes and warriors. He can be the champion, the advocate, the hero, and in certain instances, the rebel. And so this intensity of Mars, who we're somewhat considering a benefic in the best of circumstances, when he can cut something that's a gangrene limb or the dead wood on a tree in order to create thrival or wellness or health. But he also can be considered a malefic because he can bring incredible difficulties to do with overt conflict, death, murder, war, etc., like harm caused by battle and aggression. So we are going in to discuss Mars in another broad brushstroke. In Babylonian astrology, he's the emissary of Nergal, the god of war, the god of plagues. And it is a cycle of time over the next 200 years that we're in one of these minor Mars-ruled cycles for the world. And also plagues, of course, have arisen since Mars. I think it was in 2016, became kind of like the mini lord of the earth for 200 years. And so we've already seen a major plague. We've seen, of course, more than one war since 2016, unfortunately, emerging. And so we have to understand that we're in a time, perhaps, we're all getting very intimate or used to this energy of Mars, where we're going to come into more of a way of working with this energy in our own lives individually and in the world as a whole. What are some of the archetypes, however, for Pluto? Because Pluto is what most people are afraid of in astrology. I've noticed everybody has a finger biting nail response to Pluto, as if you're talking about, some homicidal maniac. And I'd like to almost rehab his reputation in that regard. Pluto can bring regeneration and renewal and rebirth through crisis and conflict. And if you think that life is going to always be without some major crisis or conflict that generates a field of energy that asks us to renew, regenerate, and rebirth, then you're probably living in another world. So we can, there's an old saying in Gibran's the prophet, and that is that it's vaguely like this: the deeper our sorrow, the more space we carve for our joy. All right, we have containers for joy based on the depths of sorrow. Well, Pluto is helping us regenerate and rebirth after times of deep, deep difficulties and transformation. You can say he like penetrates the surface of reality. He's what's hidden as well. When we saw him going through Capricorn from 2008 till now, it was penetrating the hidden power structures behind the scenes and the sort of slippery stories there, like the Me Too movement, Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, the subprime loan scandal, the Occupy Wall Street, the mismanagement of the pandemic by forces in power controlling the masses. So over and over, Pluto will reveal what is going on below the surface. And in Capricorn, the surface of top-down power structures and control structures and governance and finance structures, Capricorn. Now he started into Aquarius. Please go watch my Pluto and Aquarius video. It's doing very well, 70,000 views, I think. I predicted, by the way, in the first half of that video, the first beginning intro, the demise of both Joe Biden and Prince Charles based on Pluto coming into Aquarius, squaring both of those characters' moons. Unfortunately, we do see Prince Charles, moon can be body, suffering from physical illness. And now, as I'm recording this on February the 9th, the big hubbub of the news cycle is this expose kind of report about Joe Biden's lack of memory about when his son died, and and more convincing times in public where he seems to misspeak, like talking about having his recent meeting with Francois Mitterrand, the dead president of France, right? So you know what I'm saying, right? So I don't expect Joe Biden to even make it to the election, honestly, and I didn't expect Prince Charles to hold on to his particular throne because of not only Pluto and Aquarius squaring his moon, but also the eclipses to the moons of both Biden and King Charles. So what are some of the archetypes, therefore, of Pluto and Aquarius, or just Pluto in general? In normal times, we just say Pluto, no matter what sign, can represent archetypally things to do on the dark side with obsession, misuse of power, darker side energies like ruthlessness and savagery, darker drives, right? Really compulsions in essence, the energy of what we're like afraid of, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to go into rage or compulsion or ruthless or tyrannical energy. When you talk about a dictator or tyrant, we're talking Pluto energy, right? The mafia godfather, Don Corleone is Plutonian. Godfathers and mafia bosses can be Plutonian at their very essence. Now, when we look at more positive experiences with Pluto, we can say regeneration, evolution. That's another one. Moving into a new form. We can look at things to do with transmutation, metamorphosis, snake shedding its skin, phoenix rising from the ashes, death and rebirth. So Pluto can bring up all in both, right? Jealousy as well, fatal attraction, like Glenn Close in that movie, obsessive love, especially when Venus gets involved. So you got some gist, right? You got the vibe going on here. And when you put Mars and Pluto together historically, I'm just going to say, unfortunately, it is not what we want to see in terms of the happy stories in life that we prefer. What am I meaning by that? Well, just before 9/11, it would have been in March of 2001, Pluto and Mars co-joined in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a sign of war in the ancient tradition, by the way, an arrow being fired off, right? And 2 airplanes hit the trade towers in the fall. As if they believe, if my memory serves me, Pluto was in its square relationship. No, I mean, Mars was in a square relationship to Pluto at that point, from that conjunction of Pluto and Mars in March of 2001. So we can see terrorism, murder, mayhem, shooters, mass shootings. We can see things to do with explosion and kinetic and, terrible things like to do with the earth, like tsunamis and earthquakes, because this is Saturn's place of rulership, Aquarius, and he's in asteroid Gong Gong is traveling with him in Pisces with Neptune, sea god Neptune, Pisces water. There's a lot of explosive kinetic energy going on related to what Saturn might do with what's happening in the house next door, Aquarius, from his Pisces residence right now. You can look at battle, naval warfare, bombs at war. I'm sorry, guys. Tsunamis, earthquakes that produce tsunamis, especially because there's a whole sign square to Uranus and Taurus. But also Pisces represents the displaced, the refugees, and the underserved and the underprivileged. And we can always say what happens when you displace, over 1 million people and shove them into the south of Gaza in tents, and then declare you're going to go in there and do warfare and ask them to evacuate. Where? Where are they going to evacuate to? I'm recording February 9th for my Patreon community. You guys get this later. They get it early access ad-free for $5 a month plus a bunch of meetings with me. So check it out below. But unless Egypt opens its gates, and I don't think the Palestinians will say yes. And the reason they won't say yes is because they're used to having been displaced in 48, 49, 1967 with no right of return to their own property, their land that they used to live on. So here you're going to tell these people to move to Egypt. I don't think it'll happen. I think the world will step in anyway. But that's what's happening in the news story right now on February 9th, is that Netanyahu's saying, let's move those people, right? Let's crush them down to somewhere else. How do you evacuate tent-dwelling refugees with no water, starving to death? I mean, displaced peoples from their homes in the north and middle of Gaza, and tell them to evacuate to where? To the beach? Like where? So honestly, that's the kind of Pluto-Mars story we're looking at as they come together around the 13th and 14th. It's going to be explosive, brutal, savage, and because of a whole sign square to Uranus, shocking. I do not anticipate us wanting to get out of bed and read more about it or watch another devastating, horrific snuff film, because it is going to be not good. Now, I did say that the Mars and Pluto conjunction happened in the sky in March of 2001 before 9/11, and it didn't happen that something horrific happened exactly then. So I want you to understand, when two planets meet, it's an initiation, a beginning of a cycle. And that cycle takes place over about 2 years. Mars traveling through the sky squares Pluto, opposes Pluto, squares Pluto, and forms what is basically, in that circle, three-part story of a longer narrative. And with Mars getting stuck in Leo Cancer in the fall for a long, long time for retrogradation reasons, it's going to take a while for us to complete this story. But it is starting this time frame, and maybe it will be with Saturn, with Mercury co-present in Aquarius, a literally difficult news story hitting the cycle of our news information, news feeds, and media feeds coming through the world around the 13th, 14th, and 15th, and 16th of the month. There's a thing with Mars that is to be debated, where some astrologers have observed he shows up with the actions and the thing that's going to happen in the world, not on the approach to the conjunction or the conjunction, but as he leaves the conjunction. Therefore, we could even go 13th, 14th, it's something seeding, 15th, 16th, 17th, boom. Good news is Venus is arriving in Aquarius on the 16th, and she'll do her best to create peace treaties, cease fires, humanitarian intervention, etc. Especially Venus and Aquarius. Renn Butler, if we're going to do your sign, guys, The Archetypal Universe, right, is an amazing book. Check my description links below in my box, below, because you might want to get it. Or just, is determine this is the most fabulous resource for learning astrology as well as being an astrologer. And he's a friend and teacher of mine. And in this positive iteration of a Mars-Pluto energy, we're going to harness a lot of intense willpower, courage, drive, and passion, and sort of a volcanic catharsis or an effort towards renewal and regeneration. But in the darker shadow sides, which are hard aspects like conjunctions can bring forth, we have certain kinds of things to do with, I'll read some quotes, commanding, dominating, dangerous, predatory, or sadistic aggression. We have things like the Old Testament battles and massacres. I kid you not, it's in his book. We have things like feelings of savage ferocity and raging aggression. And there's a quote, "I feel an army in my fist," by a man named Schiller, who has a Mars-Pluto in his chart activated. The conqueror archetype, all-out war, blood and fire. I'd call this, and then there's a quote, "With those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad." Coarse and vulgar sexuality as well, and maybe a sex scandal with Venus emerging with Pluto and Mars, a really amazingly dark story around a sex scandal, or more news coming out of Jeffrey Epstein world's, darker stories of the sex island kind of thing. Now, if that didn't make you gnarly and worried, I don't know what will. I have to admit, I'm not really so worried, like, because I'm not sure that Pluto-Mars conjunction will initiate a thing in the moment. The subprime loan scandal of 2008 came on the heels in 2008, where the devastation of the housing market happened with a Pluto conjunction in Capricorn to Mars, initiating a downfall in the housing market and the economy of the United States and a downdraft in its dollar. But that was Capricorn. And that's about money, banks, Wall Street stuff, governments and stuff. So that is a whole other part of the sky, people in power, right? This is Aquarius, we the people. Now, because Aquarius can be invention energies as well, and AI is very Aquarian, especially AI, given there's a square from Uranus in Taurus. Cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence kind of vibe out here. Pluto conjunct with Mars can be a major cyber attack of some sort, where some part of the world we see a power outage or a major cyber attack, but of a proportion that's really disturbing, right? It's something much larger. The nation of Iran has a Leo rising constitution, and we're going to see the energy of Mars activating all through November through June of next year in that part of the world's sky. Unfortunately, that can look to me, obviously, like anybody would imagine, with Pluto going through Aquarius in the opposite sign, their seventh house, like a potential conflagration to do with war coming up this fall. Already in the astrology with the eclipses in the fall, I am concerned, very concerned about what may be going on, even if this current conflagration in the Middle East declares itself a non-regional war. I am concerned about a return to war from the eclipse in October, yet again on the ascendant of Israel. So we shall see what is going to happen. One astrologer in India who's known to have predicted this war as well as the pandemic, a young, what do you call it? Like a person who's super gifted, savant, I guess, does predict this is an 18-month war in the Middle East from start to finish. And he's been right so far using Vedic astrology tools. So I don't anticipate this is going to be resolved anytime soon, in my opinion, either, based on my Western tropical zodiac look at the sky. Now, I'm going to show you the chart, and then we're going to go ahead and do your sign for how a first in a lifetime Mars-Pluto conjunction with Venus tailing in afterwards may impact your life. Understand that this is a story that is not just about the very moment it happens. It's about the longer story until the next Mars-Pluto conjunction. And that date will be exactly on January 27th, 2026. So therefore, February 24 to January 26, the synodic cycle of those two planets coming together in Aquarius is unfolding for the world and individually in our signs of our sun, moon, and rising. Today, you can listen to your sun sign when it applies to things to do with your career or purpose or father figures. To your moon and moon sign developments are home, body, nest, safety. Are you feeling safe in this world? And your mother figures, and also emotional set points. And you can look at your rising sign to do with almost everything in your life. And so these delineations are all useful, but start with your rising sign if you know it. How to cast your chart in whole sign houses and find your rising sign is in my description box below as a free tutorial. Go grab it. Second of all, anything else? A lot of people ask me if you can use your progress charts, like your progress sun, moon, and rising. Of course you can. But however, your natal chart is fundamental. It's the cake, and the progress charts are the icing on the cake, right? Am I still recording? I can't tell. 1, 2, 3. Yes, I am recording. Let's look at the sky. I'm going to add an asteroid today, and the asteroid is Asclepius, the healer that Chiron mentored, and so a father of medicine, so to speak. But let me add that asteroid, and then we'll get rolling into this picture that you're seeing here, and we'll use your sign. Let's get that asteroid up and running. You're probably wondering, why am I putting this asteroid in here? Because I noticed that it was sextile, this conjunction. And that's a useful little piece of what I call the asteroids are the devil is in the detail. So let's put that in. That asteroid will be at, and we'll talk about the fixed star Altair a little bit. The asteroid is Asclepius. There we go. This calls it Asclepia, but it's still the same archetype as Asclepius or Asclepius. So we want to engage in minor asteroid narratives when they are useful. Okay, here we have it. So what you're noting in the sky, let me annotate so you understand what I'm pointing at, and then we'll do the wheel of turns, except for a Cancer rising. Sometimes just it's easier to see all the planets at the top of the sky visually. So what we notice is that Mars is conjunct Pluto here on February 13th. It's coming into a perfection of a conjunction, but this is in Vancouver, Canada, kind of like so far, and the start is around 1:30 in the afternoon. Venus is trailing in behind, but does not arrive until the 16th to mop up after what's going on here. This again is, I told you some of the ideas: terrorism, explosions, shootings, devastating events in the ecosystem like floods because of Saturn in water, and earthquakes, and maybe horrendous events in war that just make us want to chill out of reality. And the Pluto party is going to be complete when Venus gets there. I have a video I'll be doing just for what I'm calling the weighted Pluto party in Aquarius, which is another first in a lifetime, right? Because Pluto's there. Then we can see that Asclepius, this minor asteroid at 20, we're not going to count it. It's good that I checked. Okay. No, we're not counting Asclepius because I don't do the out of sign stuff. I just saw him in the software and I'm like, maybe we should include him. Not really, but I will note this since I have him up. You can see that Venus, just on the cusp of this disastrous week ahead of the sky that I'm looking at, is in flow to Asclepius Neptune. And there's a very healing, sweet sextile operational or happening in our sky around the 12th and 13th, just as this is also happening. It's almost like we could go through a healing ease or a deep moment of compassion and hope, maybe for something humanitarian that could emerge, right? Like a ceasefire maybe, or whatever. I'm wondering if that is going to be kind of like things could be looking good on Monday, Tuesday, and falling apart Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We shall see. So I'm going to say ignore Asclepius. And also let's point to another couple of variables. Mars, sitting in this part of the chart, is on the star Altair, the eye of the eagle, and the constellation Aquila, winning, playing to win, but it has to do often with war. It was a military star. You'll see it in the charts of military leaders, people are up in power in the Pentagon. People in charge of the militaries and government often have a very strong Altair, active in, Colin Powell has one there, active in their Mars placement. So, or just any placement in their planet, in their line of planets that have to do with war matters. And so this star is indicating to me this conjunction of Mars and Pluto is at the sensitive, super highlighted 0 degrees of Aquarius that was initiated in the solstice of 2020 by the conjunction of Pluto, of Saturn and Jupiter, called the Great Conjunction, or the Conjunction of Kings. Now, that Conjunction of Kings in December of 2020 has been noted to initiate a cycle of potential assassinations of world leaders. Some people say in the year after, some people say no, through the whole synodic cycle, which is 20 years. Unfortunately, Pluto-Mars combinations can also indicate assassinations when the sun is here, means world leader. No, I'm not hoping that, especially square Jupiter leader. So there could also be the death of a world leader, but honestly, with Mars Pluto, it is likely a targeted strike at some world leader. Now, you might say, does that include the leader of, say, a known terrorist organization? Perhaps, but that could be what we're also seeing in the news cycle. All right, during this week of, or 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th of the month. Because Mercury is here, he's a guy who gives the news cycle stuff out into the world. And so I expect it to definitely look like a very busy news week with whatever the shocking developments are. Finally, you might note here, this is Athena, the goddess of strategy. And she's also wisdom and knowledge, but she was also the goddess of victory in war. This goddess of victory in war, right, has a connection. She's a war goddess as well as knowledge and wisdom. She's known to be involved in war matters, and she is in a sextile to this warrior Mars Pluto narrative. So we see again and again, and Sagittarius, of course, are arrows that fly. In our modern day, we would call those missiles. Yes, missiles. Hephaestos, the armor of the gods, is currently traveling in very interesting places in our sky. I won't get into that one now, but I could say a lot of missiles may be flying as a result of this story. And so I'm not happy about the sky during the 13th to the 20th, but I will remind us that it was the 9/11 precursor of this conjunction in Sagittarius. In 2001 in March that led to what happened in the fall. So not everything we see in the sky with an outer planet like Pluto or Neptune or Uranus is happening in the moment that it occurs, but sometimes it is. Okay, Mars is kind of a now guy. This is happening now, and Pluto's like it happens sometime in my evolutionary transgenerational slow movement of life. So we've got a mixed bag of energy here. Technically, when Venus moves into this part of the sky in the 16th, she begins to form a sextile to the south node of fate, which is where the eclipses have been on Israel's ascendant, and that's been causing this war. Every time the south node goes over Israel's ascendant every 18 or 19 years, we end up seeing Arab Israel conflict always flaring, always, always, always. And we added that Mars was with the south node in a conjunction there as well. That made it even more inflamed in the fall. So with Venus here, she's going to come into a flow to the ascendant of Israel and to the open enemies of Israel. Okay, that creates a wedge. We'll be doing a whole video on that wedge, and that could mean that peace is happening. But with Pluto in Aquarius, it's being demanded. It's not, but it's somebody's forcing the hand of the parties involved, in my humble opinion, to create peace. And because the United Nations is impotent, the only people who can force the hand of this situation will be the United States of America. Let's put the Asteroid America into the story, okay? I'm wondering where it is. Okay, let's add that little mix. Clear the drawings, and we will do your sign. I always start with mundane astrology. You have timestamps. You can jump ahead. You don't have to complain about this. You can just jump ahead. I'm like, seriously. People say, oh, your intro is too long. Well, guys, you have timestamps. You don't have to sit through the whole intro. Let's put Asteroid America in. Good old Asteroid America does actually represent things that have to do with America. When I do client readings and they're from like some foreign land other than America, and I know they're now living in America, and I look at their chart, it'll show America on the IC, America in their fourth house, America in their 12th, America on their ascendant. These little devils in the details of the asteroid stories are very useful. I mean, they work basically is what I'm saying. Just trying to get some light that doesn't blind me. Okay. So Asteroid America is traveling through Capricorn, which represents the home and homeland and the territory of Israel in their natal sky. So that's interesting that America is trying to get involved by sending weapons and money, you know. But if I think about it this way, just in terms of who could call for a ceasefire, the nation of United States is a Sagittarius rising. All right. And that's where Athena, the goddess of strategy, wisdom, knowledge, but also victory in war, is connected right now, is bearing down on the 12-degree ascendant of the nation of America. And therefore, this could indicate American involvement in a demand for ceasefire or an unequivocal, what do you call it? Like a red line. Finally, America might draw the red line that it said it has no, we're shoulder to shoulder. We have no red lines while the rest of the world is aghast. But basically, this can be an American involvement. Eventually, the Asteroid America will move here, right? Not here yet, but the Asteroid America is moving into a square to the nation of Israel's ascendant and descendant axis, which means the Americans will become oppositional toward whatever Israel is doing based on the sky. You'll see that that gets really hot right here around March the 5th. That's also when Chiron North Node conjunct here, using not the true node, but the mean node in Mars, the sign of war. Expect major turning points around March the 5th with the United States involvement in what is going on in the Middle East. All right, let's get out of that general story and do your sign. And before I do, hey, are you new to my channel? Hit the like button and subscribe. All of my regulars, I appreciate you so much. Discerning Light, Misbehaving, L.A. Taylor, Crystalline Alchemist, Psychic Readings with Rose, Jupiter 8, Stephen the Jupiterian. You guys know who you are. Herbal Empress, and more. You guys are part of why I love this job. I get to chat with you every live premiere when you guys can show up and we talk astrology, we get to know each other, and you ask me questions and I answer you. So if you are interested in getting more interconnected with me, there's only two ways. Come to my live premieres. Every video I record, this is February 9th, it'll be out a few days, goes into live premiere mode for you as well. My Patreon community, you can meet with me on small, intimate Zoom calls up to 3 times a month, depending on your tier, where we discuss astrology, and we even do one group tier level is horary, where we can ask your personal questions and get answers in a yes/no way. Divination astrology. So check me out on Patreon. Check my Sky Reader class starts April the 7th or so. I haven't put the shopping cart or the tuition cart out yet, but there's a wait list to get early access and early bird discounts as well. Maybe even just get into the class, because I quite often fill the class just on the wait list alone. So check out my description box for the link to the class and the wait list as well. All right, let's go. That's to 6 weeks live class with me with weekly Q&A. And I've taught it 4 times. This will be my 5th. All right, that's enough news that's fit to print. Let's go into the sky together and do your sign. All right, guys, let's roll with Aries, and then we'll give you guys about 5 minutes per sign. So let's see how we do. So you guys are Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. And by the way, don't forget to check out my Mars in your sign video, which I also have other content about what Mars is doing in the heavens. So the Mars in your sky is your Lord, right? The planetary body that rules you. And he's doing his first in a lifetime transit through Aquarius, co-present with Pluto. That conjunction on the 13th, 14th, and then the days that follow look like intense willpower, drive, ambition connected to things you wish to achieve in your long-range goals and plans. But they're also your people of the 11th. Those are your larger groups of friends and social networks, and your elder sibling, one above you in particular. And so there can be some explosive communication, some difficult, highly turbocharged, difficult conversation with any of these people in your life this week ahead. Now, I'm recording the 9th. You'll probably listen to this later, right? But I'm just giving you the lay of that land. Now, with Mars moving into that conjunction with Pluto and the Sun co-present, look for also conflict with father figures or people in charge or the boss of you. If you have a conjunction here with Pluto Mars, you may end a friendship. You may decide your power of will is extraordinary, and you're determined and cruel and ruthless if necessary to cut away from that friend or that group of people that no longer serve you. You're just done, like finito. Especially in a broad square to Jupiter, get rid of that guru, get rid of that teacher, get rid of that leader that you used to think was great, or that group of belonging, that's no longer right for you. So you're cutting those people away, but they may cut away from you as well. There may be some very difficult leave takings here. If you are talking about your career gains, your earnings, your rewards, your awards, your recognition, your fame can come out of the 11th, because it is connected to the things you're doing in your Capricorn 10th house. Now, it's explosive, intense, but it doesn't always have to be negative energy. Certainly with Jupiter, Uranus getting ready to kaboom out in the end of April, your earnings into a new cycle of goodness for the next, 14 years after this third week of April, you may be looking at some kind of buildup. As I mentioned earlier, Pluto Mars can pertain to something that plays out until January 2026. So what are you doing that's going to generate more wealth? Because once Venus gets there in February 16th onward, this is like a wealth yoga. How are you going to do something specifically important to your earning strategy that's a critical change and of direction that's renewing and regenerating and resurrecting you from some kind of like Phoenix rising, from some kind of career ambition, goal, dream, but maybe also earning strategy. Some big changes here as well. The sun rules your 5th house of money luck. Just for some Aries, sun, moon, and rising, you may indeed have a sudden windfall coming off of this conjunction. And it's a little shocking and surprising, but maybe you're overall not even that upset about it, because Venus, Pluto together is a wealth yoga in a house. It can bring windfalls and pennies from heaven, especially given the sun rules your money luck house. So just for you, Aries, sun, moon, and rising, there is this chance of wealthing up in the words windfall, or pennies from heaven, or the feeling of money raining down upon you as a result of what we're seeing this week. And yeah, there you go. A powerful friend who's an ally and benefactor may be determined to support you in some way, and you get an email, phone call, or message from one of these powerful allies or benefactors. And that can also look like, no matter I'm giving you my help whether you want it or not. So looking for that kind of thing coming through the sky from the 13th, through to the 16th of the month of February. Hey, Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is an interesting time, right? We live in interesting times, as they say. In your sky, what I'm seeing here is the movement of the rare first in a lifetime Pluto meeting Mars at Aquarius in your 10th house of career and reputation. Now, at a very notable practical level, the 13th to the 16th may have you quit your job or your job quit you. That's just what it can happen. But a blowout, a difficult conversation, a shouting match with your boss can happen here. Or if you are the boss with someone else in your workspace and you're telling them to get the hell out, or someone in your workspace, even if you're not the boss, is going to have a blowout and there may be a leave taking. So, and it may benefit you because when Venus enters here on the 16th, add 3 weeks, then someone gets fired or blows out and quits, and you get to move up the rank. So it can benefit you. But whatever's happening here too, you know, Pluto Mars can be sex scandals, especially when Venus is hovering nearby, ready to enter the fray. So you may have some kind of sex scandal in your career and workspace blowing out of proportion. May not even be yours, right? Somebody else might be like doing a Me Too movement there. Father figures is the sun. The 10th house is the house of the father. And there's Mars, Pluto, Mercury. Unfortunately, for some of you, don't take this literally. It's a bell curve astrology, guys. And I know looking at your natal chart, and I don't know the condition of your planets. Just for some Tauruses, there may be a death of a father figure or news or announcements around those themes, right? Let's not pretend that real life doesn't happen. So just got to, you know, lay the land, right? Time your best life, use it as a navigational tool. On the off chance that you're one of the 10% for whom this account isn't going to be true, maybe make amends, make it close up loose ends, maybe make sure you're emotionally prepared just in case, right? I'm not your rainbow and unicorns girl. I'm the one who tells you what astrology does. It does tells time and it tells space. It tells you what may be happening in the space-time continuum. Now, also, if there is a blow with the father figure, it can make you very prosperous because Jupiter is wealthing you up in Taurus. So maybe there will be something concerning inheritance monies, especially with lawyerly Athena hanging out in the 8th house. So, you know, that's a very lawyerly place for negotiating and things to do with bequeathment monies, for example. And then also I would note to you that the possibility here of this conjunction can look like a deep death and rebirth of your career space. And this could take 2 years where you thought you wanted to be, you know, a doctor. Now you want to be I don't know, a carpenter. You could deeply reinvent what you think your career and purpose and reputation were supposed to be about over the next couple of years. This is going to be a story that asks you to keep doing that for 20 years, right? But this is the first salvo. If you're a Taurus sun, moon, and rising, this is angular to you as a fixed sign. If your Taurus sun, moon, and rising is in the first 5 degrees of Taurus, this is a very, very important turning point in reinventing your career stories and your reputation direction. And it will get, you know, to the later degree Taurus is closer to 2040, 43. So you first early degree Tauruses get the most juice from this at this time. Hang on. Moving into the next story. Well, and over time, over the next 2 years, you're going to be more devotional in your earnings, right? You're going to do something that you're interested in. You feel like a true calling, a feel sacred duty around earnings and career stories. And this is engendering that. And don't expect to understand the sacred calling right away, but you certainly may understand it over the next couple of years. Hey, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. I do have a progressive sun in Gemini, so I get the vibe. This is a story here where this conjunction first in a lifetime is happening in your 9th house. And this has to do with spiritual philosophy, religion, faith, your dharma, the meaning of your life. And it also has to do with academic and university colleges, campuses, higher learning, maybe visas, travel, foreign lands, judges and courts, and finally publications, including the book publishing world. All of those 9th house matters are now being revised over the next 20 years as Pluto keeps coming back here with Mars. You know, Pluto's going to be here and Mars will keep joining him every 2 years. So until January 2026, this is the main story for anyone with a Gemini sun, moon, or rising in 5 degrees, feeling it more acutely. Over the next 2 years, you're going to change your relationship to your religion, your father figures on up here, to things to do with academics and learning. Some of you may go back to school. Some of you may decide to study or become a teacher or a professor or like a guide or mentor to others. I love this energy. If you do want to publish a book and you're a Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, it can indicate great success and power in the next couple of years to do that. But understand as well, this Jupiter conjunction, this Pluto-Mars conjunction can have you take something out, leave it, you know, quit a religion, quit, end something significant, a faith, a way of seeing the world. Now, third marriages and partnerships of a third marriage nature, long-term committed love, belong in the third house. And you may have some explosive energy and communication with that, and within that context of that relationship in this window of the 13th to the 16th, when this is very active. Mercury also is new, so you get some information from a court or legal situation or a publications, book publisher, agent, editor, coming through your sky this week. It does flow to you as an easy and enjoyable and desirable transit. So you're not thinking of this as negative as maybe other people might. It's helping you fire up a sacred flame of devotion, and maybe your inner priestess and priest is coming to life as a result of this. And you may take up a new spiritual faith, philosophy, meditation practice, etc. in the couple of years that follow. I would also mention that you have strategic Athena in your 7th house of marriage. And often she's very lawyerly, and she represents victory in war. But you may be looking at some strategic things to do with visas, foreign lands, foreign travels, or strategic things in the next couple of years involving marital agreements and legalities. So, keep that in mind. And the broad square to Jupiter Uranus indicates potentially for some of you matters to do with publications and revenue from abroad, or academics and studying abroad, or even potentially even a relocation abroad for some of you Geminis over the next 2 years. That's why I'm labeling this video, Mars-Pluto conjunction, and I'm giving you a 2-year window in the thumbnail, because it's really not just what's happening in the sky this week. It's a 2-year synodic cycle. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, what we have going on here is a reset of a synodic cycle for the first in a lifetime in your 8th house of chunky money. This is inheritance money, money you share with your spouse, money shared in separation, assets, and divorces, money you inherit from a spouse if one of you passes, that kind of thing. It's money you get from taxes, tax rebates, investments in the stock market, passive income, royalty income, anything that's not directly earned by you in a kind of wagey salary, dollars for hours, second house way. Now, with this alignment of Mars and Pluto really taking force over the next 20 years, there's a great deal of quality change here to really wealth up. Venus, Pluto will continually meet here in your long range plans for your, say, treasure chest of resources. But if you're in the occult mysteries and the paranormal and the tarot and the things that are metaphysical, very 8th house, this can also really become a place of great power for you. But this is explosive and communication energy. Mars is emails, phone calls, news, also commerce. The conjunction is intense. The sun is there. Some of you may experience some kind of money coming from a father figure or male figure in your life that you didn't expect, maybe because the broad square to Uranus brings a surprise. And as well, Athena's being very strategic here in your work and health space. And she's asking you to engage in strategic 3-dimensional chess about how this money story that's intensely blowing up may be somehow used in a more strategic way to refinance something, to pay down debts, to sell or buy a house. Eventually, that looks like you might be thinking of real estate property matters as well in the next couple of more years. And finally, Mars does rule the house of children. And if you have any financial problems with any of your children, there can be a huge blowout. Finally, secrets are all 8th house matters. A really intense secret can blow out about your sexual life, your romantic partner, or your marriage partner, or your child coming through the sky. Oh my God, the 13th to the 16th. Do you want to be more devotional? Because eventually the sky will ask you to be more devotional to your spiritual path, also devotional to things that have to do with generating income from foreign places and foreign entities. Hey, Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Let's roll and talk about what this becomes for you. All right, let me just stop the share for a sec. I'm just going to grab a little water before we do you. All right, so into the narrative we go. Am I losing more light than I need to? Probably, but let's get going back into our, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, especially if you're watching today in our live premiere. I'm not sure what day I'm airing this, but we shall see. Am I actually sharing? Yeah. Okay, here we go. All right, so this Mars Pluto energy is definitely intense, and it's really heating up for you, Leos, the significant other house. And I would expect not just maybe a potential blowout with your romantic partner, your significant long-term partner, business partner, or a troll from hell in your public, if you're online, but there's that longer narrative that lasts 2 years. It's really asking you, are you going to revise and regenerate your marriage and maybe cut out the deadwood, or are you going to completely collapse your long-term committed love relationship, or are you trying to transform the types of long-term relationships you are choosing? And that will be very active for Leo, sun, moon, and rising in the first 5 degrees. For everybody else, this is just like, okay, this is a tough week on the 13th to the 16th with my significant other, with my audience marketplace clients, with my business partner. What the hell? They're angry, they're mean, they're throwing swords at me. The communication is tough. It's not easy. Really, you can feel it intimately because the sun, the ruler of your mind body complex, is in the opposite sign, and therefore it really reverbs it back at you in a difficult way. Unfortunately, secrets get revealed when Pluto's involved, and this can be some secrets from your partner, especially with Venus getting into the mix on the 16th, of a romantic or sexual nature that can rock your world. It's not an easy time for you in relationships to any others this week ahead, 13th to the 16th, but understand this too shall pass. And very likely in this story, you might also find that some friendship ends, like somebody or someone important to you, Mars, Pluto, an ending, but maybe a very cathartic ending. Maybe everybody's like screaming like primally as it comes to a close. There's that possibility as well. I would say that because you have this strategic Athena looking on from the 5th house, it definitely involves love and romance blowouts for some of you this week ahead, but you're being strategic and wise about it. And also there's a possibility, given that the Vestal flame is being activated during this entire Mars transit, what are you going to devote yourself to in terms of your larger groups of belonging, friendships, elder sibling relationship, maybe in the wake of a very disturbing upset in a longer term significant relationship? The Jupiter Uranus is, glowing up your career until the end of May. And yet there's unexpected changes and surprises in April, May from that conjunction that's coming. And Mars is interacting with this in a whole sign way. So some things that discombobulate you this week also may involve your career and maybe changes of agreements, negotiations of new contracts or terms of service for some Leos in the career space that may be exciting and unexpected, but also challenging and difficult at the same time. All right, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. In the sky, what we see here is Pluto, Jupiter, Mars conjunction, first time in your life, will happen for the next, till 2043, the next 19 years. This energy is going to be about your work, right? Like this is, I'm going to the job. This is my daily duty, my drudgery, my duty, hopefully your destiny. It could be where you're in servitude and slavery instead of service, but it usually looks like your office or your office mates or colleagues and coworker space. And there's a freaking blow up here. So get ready, get set. Somebody's screaming at somebody. I don't know what's happening. Powerful demolition energy with Mars, Pluto connected to Mercury, news and conversation. So the worst case, the company's shutting down and firing people, laying people off, or somebody quits in the job space and you get to move up at the ranks because Venus will come in there and soothe. If you quit a job or a job quits you, then Venus comes in after Mars's kerfuffle with Pluto and tries to give you something good from it. Severance package, pay, you get to, get a new job right away. If someone else leaves, you get a better position in the place you work. Your health is here. It's called the house of sickness. Mars yet is in its joy. So there may be some health challenges to do with injuries or inflammation. Be careful. Venus will come in and try to soothe it afterwards, but you don't need to have a workers' compensation claim or fall or hurt yourself in the work that you're doing. So be more cautious, please. This 13th through the 16th, 17th of this week. This is a longer synodic cycle for Virgos, right? And everybody understand that you're regenerating a death and rebirth archetype renewal and transformation and mutation of your work. You want to change the work you're doing in this world. You want to make it somehow different. I don't know what it'll be. It's not just, oh, I want to be, I don't know, I'm a lawyer and I'm going to do entertainment law instead of, real estate law. It would be another professional direction that you're called to go, that you're devoted to. You have a sacred duty. You feel like it's a devotional spark for you to go in that career direction. So understand over the next 2 years, you'll be more clear about that. Strategic Athena in the fourth house, connected to this house of rentals and rental agreements, can also indicate a sudden, shocking, surprising change of direction regarding rental property agreements, whether you're the landlord or the tenant. And the surprising other part of it is Jupiter, Uranus in the ninth house can bring surprising changes to your life regarding legal matters and foreign countries and visas connected to work matters over the next 2 years as well. Or more acutely for this one, I'd say over the next 6 months. Libra, sun, moon, and rising energy is intense in your romance house and your children and your creativity and your entrepreneurship. First in a lifetime, 13th to the 16th energy of Pluto, Mars here. You might be having a massive disagreement, blowout, deeply intimate, under the surface exploration or conversation with a romantic partner. This is definitely going to impact Libra, first 5 degrees of sun, moon, and rising more intensely, but all Libras will certainly feel it. As this intensity is arising in your fifth house, you might also have difficult conversations with children. This is also not a good time for trying to have a baby. A Mars Pluto would look like that it's not happening. You know what I mean? I don't want to upset anybody, but Mars is the god of abortions and miscarriages. Pluto is the god of death and rebirth. So there's just that, like this is this week, right? The 13th to the 16th, 17th. Mercury is the news, the information, the conversations. The sun, father figures. There can be some deep upset here too with somebody in your social groups or friendships, with the sun representing the Lord of your 11th house. If you're an entrepreneur or creative, you could be going really deep under the surface in terms of creativity, but also having some kind of detonation around something that you're creating and having to start over or toss it to the winds and revise it. Obviously, if it's about publications, you have a devotional flame in the house of book publishing, but this can look like a demolition of a creative project in order to rebuild it anew, especially if it deals with the word publications. And a strategic Athena in the third house of writing says something similar, but it's also the third house of younger siblings. And there can be some strategy with a childhood friend, online world, social media, younger sibling regarding what you're demolishing in your creative, muse-driven, entrepreneurial house. Some of you, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to shake the roof down, blow up the structure, and start it anew in a new direction. Ultimately, all that chunky money wants to participate over the course of the next 6 months. You might be looking at new structures in your, what do you call it? Creative projects and entrepreneurial businesses that are going to make passive income happen for you. Scorpio, Mars is the ruler of you, and he's going to be doing a very big energy in your fourth house. This is angular and very intense. This is going to impact you in a very critical and demanding way, especially if you are Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising in the first 5 degrees of Scorpio. Major changes in your home life. Maybe you could have some, big conversations and maybe arguments that are difficult with somebody you live with, or with a mother figure, or with our father figure. Now, father figure with this combination can look like news of a legacy wealth opportunity, maybe from someone up your patrilineal line. Maybe you're going to receive money from them. Maybe you're going to hear of an opportunity to vestal flame and inheritances to get some money from a father figure through a legacy wealth manner. But on the other hand, this is just where you live, at your home, your property, your real estate, and something is intense, and it's always like a blowing up energy here, a detonation. Because there is also this energy of Mercury. He rules commerce. So if you're trying to buy or sell a home and invest it in the house of banks and mortgages, this could be some explosive energy, maybe positive, because Jupiter, Uranus in the house of buyers, legal contracts, but you weren't intending to sell your home and someone wants to buy it. You have an opportunity to sell, or a change in your home that you weren't expecting, a chance to travel or move away from home that you weren't expecting to happen is showing up on the 13th to the 16th. But bigger news than that, this is a story that lasts 2 years and will continue to reignite itself every single 2-year period for the next 19 years. So big transformation to do with your childhood wounds, your ancestral line, home property and real estate matters. This is the first time you feel it. Strategic Athena in the house of resources, money and earnings and possessions, engaging with this, a strategic chance to sell a house, buy a house, sudden upsets to do with legacy wealth and real estate, upsets to do with inheritance monies, or exciting and unexpected developments with those matters. Sagittarius, sun, moon, rising. Well, this is the energy of your first in a lifetime Mars conjunction with Pluto in your third house of younger sibling, trips and travel, skills-based learning, writing, online world, neighbors and neighborhood, to name a few things. It can be your everyday life, what we call the fishbowl you swim in. Yay, Adam Ellen Bus for that. I love that. Well, it's going to explode, right? A neighbor could come running out of the house screaming with a slingshot. Your younger sibling, and you may have a blowout conversation. There may be a difficulty conversation and blowout with a childhood friend. There may be difficult circumstances in your elementary, high school environment. If you're that young listening to this, there may be some really upsetting or unexpected or difficult circumstances regarding travel and trips, especially if you've already planned it, right? And this conversational energy with Mercury means that it can be, though it flows to you, very good for you strategically, because you've got this strategic goddess sitting here. You're kind of like using wisdom and knowledge and strategy to engage this difficult situation. You are strategic, you are wise, you are knowledgeable, and you can engage what this might be from that kind of vantage point. So you're making some definite lemonade out of what may be a very explosive situation. And writing projects are here, websites are here, social media. You can be vastly trolled down here by somebody in social media land, and you have to strategically handle it. Now, coming with Venus into the fray, the 16th onward, she'll soothe the waters of the difficulty, but first it feels pretty difficult. Let's say the 13th to the 15th for sure of February. And now this energy is also connecting. Do you want to have a flame of devotion to a significant other? And can you engage that from the third house? Maybe an online dating app, maybe a trip that engages an opportunity to meet somebody important who is devotional to you or you to them, or devotion to your client's audience and marketplace that you're trying to reach. There's a new level of potential relating devotional energy that wants to emerge in the 2 years that follow this synodic cycle reset button. Remember, it's a synodic cycle, is resetting something that will give you a 2-year narrative. And, Jupiter square, Uranus square from the 6th house and the 3rd house. This means for some of you, a change of job, a change of work, a change of residence, maybe if your IC floats in the 3rd house as a result of this in the next 2 years. Change of health habits as well can be occurring for a lot of you. And that's one way to avoid sickness, is to have some major changes of your neighbors, neighborhood, or relationships to childhood friends or siblings, but especially neighbors and neighborhood. Maybe you're going to make a change of neighborhood as a result of this energy here to better your health. New rental agreements as well. All right, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. Mars exalts you, right? He's the exaltation lord for Capricorn. So you have a nice relationship with him in a way. You guys have a feature of getting well along with each other. And Mars is moving here through your 2nd house of earnings for the first time in your life with Pluto. Detonation, demolishing, evolution, renewal. So a deep renewal, an evolution is going on of your earning strategy, your possessions and wealth. This is going to take maybe up to 20 years to fully realize itself, because every 2 years, Mars and Pluto conjunct here. But this particular synodic cycle is most active until 2026 January. So because it embeds Mercury, that's commerce, selling, marketing, communicating, negotiating, big, explosive, like Phoenix rising from ashes in the earnings house, connected to solar figures, males, connected to as well, the North Node Rahu, Chiron. Somebody wants to help you. Maybe Rahu can represent foreigners, foreign people, and it can involve even things to do with changes of home for you. But I would also note that this reset cycle is connecting as well to strategy from the 12th house of far off foreign shores and places and people. So strategic allies from foreign places supporting a reset in your money, maybe with Athena here, the legalities of working abroad or generating revenue from foreign entities and foreign shores is being activated in the next couple of years. There's some surprises here with your children, some surprises here with your romantic partner, that this is going to open up as an obvious thing that's happening in the next couple of years. But even this week ahead, 13th to the 16th, you're going to think, whoa, some, developments of difficult conversations with my romantic sexual love life partner or one of my children. This is the house of speech, right? And, it's bold, declarative, penetrating, uncompromising, difficult speech connected to children and romantic partners, sexual romantic partners. And also, finally, you might want to do something very profound to change your dietary style, things you eat, things you ingest, or things to do with your face and the structure of your face, jaw, and teeth. That can indicate a blowing out here. I would not do dental surgery or facial reconstruction or something weird like that during the 13th to the 16th with all this intensity. But the long range over the next 2 years, some facial surgery that's going to be very transformative, some dental work that's going to shift your reality, some kind of new dietary style that takes out and eliminates like what you shouldn't put in your mouth, whether it's a food or an addiction, over the next 2 years. Because you want to tend a devotional flame to your health over here over the next 2 years, and to the work and livelihood you do that generates income in a meaningful, destined way. Hey, Aquarius, I am one of you. This is a synodic cycle as well as a short-term energy of a completely intense, never felt before by us Aquarians. Yay, us Pluto people right now. With Mars and Pluto, we are the ones that are the mafia boss dominator. We are either being ruthless and savage, or we are being intense and will-powered. This can give us intense drive and willpower to get something done, to make decisions that are executive and powerful, but also watch out for savagery in speech or ruthlessness in demeanor because of Mercury. I will refrain from trolling my trolls the best I can during this particular window of time. A lot of the energy can be directed at other people. Trolls are over here as well as your significant mate and marriage type partner. So be cautious not to cause harm, but your power is here, and your determination and your drive and your directionality are on fire or on air, and getting some liftoff in the 13th to the 19th. Now, be careful you don't injure yourself. Obviously, anytime Mars goes through our first house, we be careful for accidents, injuries, heat, inflammation, and rashes. At the same time, Mercury's communication and marketing and selling, and maybe you're powerfully driving into some renewal, regeneration, and evolution of what you wish to communicate, market, and sell in this world. Sun is father figures sitting up here, also vitality and purpose. You're really looking at this as a very interesting time because you're strategically benefiting from friends as allies and benefactors, elder siblings, as well as maybe a more strategic look at your long-range goals and plans for your life. Don't forget, Venus comes in and sort of soothes it up after the 16th of the month and add 3 weeks. And then everything that's going on the 13th through the 16th kind of takes on a beautiful Venusian relaxation response to the intensity. Given that this kind of vibe is in a connection to the nodes of fate in the third house, some of this intensity may involve siblings, younger especially, or travel plans, or things to do even to do with writing projects or your online world. The square to Jupiter Uranus, basically Jupiter Uranus keeps saying there's going to be some sudden disruption or change that you don't expect this spring in your living environment, home, real estate, property, but also bounty and prosperity. There's an echo of the later thing, April and May, by this Mars Pluto whole sign square. The things that are happening in this week ahead may apply to also what you do with your land, home, property choices as you get towards April, May, and June. Finally, there's a devotional flame you wish to tend. And this is all very particularly so acute for you, first 5 degrees, Aries, sun, moon, and rising. Like I'm Aries, 19 degrees. So for me, it's not as intense as you guys. But this early degrees, Aries folks, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5. This is a very important time. And what do you want to devote a flame to in terms of creativity, inspiration, art, enthusiasm, joy, play, pleasure, artistic stuff, romantic, sexual things, things to do with your children. You want to tend a sacred flame. And in the next 2 years, you're going to ask yourself, what is that sacred flame that I want to tend? I'll be doing a little bit more when the sacred flame gets activated by Mars later in the month of February. So if that interests you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. How cool. You've got this like very hidden place where all this action is happening for the next 20 years through to 2043. But this particular synodic cycle lasts until January of 2026. And Mars Pluto conjunct here for the first time in your life can be a huge benefit for spiritual awakening. Mars rules your house of God. So some of you may have a massive spiritual uplift, a spiritual awakening, some kind of breakthrough in your spiritual liberation path. But also Pluto is somebody of power and wealth. 12th house is foreigners, foreign shores, and foreign lands, and also the revenue and economically successful things you can do from those people and places. So some of you may be seeing an email, phone call, communication, quite intense that has to do with renewal of monies from those places coming into your story. Especially if you have payment processor Stripe or also work for international companies or international people, some intense communication is happening February 13th to the 16th that may also invite you to successful career outcomes and work outcomes here. This is like the back room, right? This is where backroom deals and negotiations happen. This is where you have these dreams at night. This is where you do your inner soul work. This is where you dredge up past life stuff. Some of you may have some of those things hitting an intense energy on the 13th to the 17th, smoothing out as Venus gets there and can even bring you wealth, like a wealth yoga from far off places and foreign shores after the 16th of the month. The strategic element is your career and reputation. How are you strategizing for more success in the long range finances of payment processors, borderless international revenue, money coming from people in foreign places that serve you in a good way, but being strategic about it in your career and reputation? Venus often represents law and lawyers in real-time charts that I've seen of my clients. And so maybe you consult a lawyer around the legalities of visas and permits regarding monies to do with foreign places, or strategies to improve your reputation as well, or strategic backroom deals and negotiations around new career opportunities coming up the 13th to the 16th, 17th. Also, what is there that you wish to do? Like here, you're flowing to the second house of earnings. You want to increase earnings. Rahu can mean from foreign places and foreigners, healing the earnings wound that's been in play for a while, maybe since 2019 for some Pisces, but increasing your earnings as well as a result of the intense energy of the 12. Honestly, you could undo, blow out, and quit an addiction, a self-sabotage, a karmic a curse of poverty or vow of chastity, bed pleasures. The cosmic lovers are coming in here, and you could have some deep bed pleasure revelations and blowouts as well during the month of February. Over the long 2-year cycle, what do you want to devote yourself to that has to do with your home life, real estate, property? You want to tend a sacred flame in the home, maybe set up a temple, maybe get in the kitchen goddesses, hearth goddesses here. And you're being asked to really tend the sacred flame of your hearth and home as it pertains to your own 12th house matters. Maybe you can maybe this is returning some Pisces to more of a sacred direction, right? Illuminating your spirituality, being more devotional in a practice of meditation or chanting or something in the home over the next couple of years. That could be very well what we're seeing. And even making your office space in the home, sun rules that, connected to the flame, a sacred zone of time for yourself, rather than making it the kitchen table with the kids screaming in the background, if that's the kind of home-based work you have been doing. So these are some thoughts, some ideas about what this cycle could mean for all of us in the next couple of years. But also remember, the intensity of the week ahead is pretty insane. I don't have great light. I just really can't deal with this curtain problem. So thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and all of those good things that helps this channel grow, so that I continue to put content out for you. And then I feel excited and inspired by the growth of my own business here on YouTube. So you liking me, subscribing, or sharing this content and hitting that notification bell is like engine fuel for my channel, which is a bit of a combination between a a race car, a convertible, Volvo convertible. It's a Volvo convertible race car-ish red, volcanic red leather. I'm wearing red. I'm wearing red, and I'm with the Aries symbol to honor this Pluto, Mars, Aries, Mars red conjunction. Everyone, even you got some red earrings. I went all out. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful, transformational, regenerative, difficult, exciting, crazy week ahead, and also 2 years ahead. All right. Thanks a lot. Ciao, ciao.